Parking's an absolute nightmare around here, isn't it? Had to reverse into the tiniest of spaces. Still, I managed it. I mean, parking's not exactly brain surgery, is it? And I should know.
Why is that? Are you a doctor?
Careful, not a doctor. I'm a brain surgeon. Big difference. Big difference. So, what do you guys do?
I'm an accountant.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I could do with an accountant. Filling in those tax forms can get really confusing, can't it? Still, it's not exactly brain surgery, is it? I mean, brain surgery, believe me, is very complex.
Lionel, here's your drink. Lionel's a brain surgeon, you know.
Yeah, he mentioned it.
Oh, Jeff, they keep you late at the Space Centre.
As always.
And this food roundup. Have you met Lionel?
No, hello, Lionel.
So, Jeff, how do you earn a crust?
Well, I'm a scientist. I work mainly with rockets. It's pretty tough work. What do you do?
Well, I don't mean to boast, but I'm a brain surgeon.
Brain surgery? Not exactly rocket science.
Broadcasting from Brisbane, Australia, this is the FOMO Show.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Joe.
And this is a fortnightly podcast where we talk about the exciting ideas changing the world today and what might change the world tomorrow.
We'll help you stay across what's going on so you don't get the fear of missing out.
You can find us at FOMO.show or by searching for the FOMO Show on your platform of choice.
As always, everything in the show's in the show notes. You can find links to the stuff we chat about and timestamps for the relevant bits so you can always skip ahead and find it later.
Firstly, a quick disclaimer. This podcast isn't investment or any other type of advice.
We're not saying you should buy anything at all.
So full disclosure, we're both personally invested in different shares, funds, cryptocurrencies, pyramid schemes, some of which we talk about on the show. But if we talk about an investment product or a scheme, it doesn't mean you should buy into it.
So, do your research, never invest more than you can afford to lose, and mostly avoid the fear of missing out.
But come to my Tupperware party, please.
Classic scam. Oh, mate.
So this episode, we're going to be covering all sorts of things. We're going to be talking about Goldman Sachs and their almost counterpoint to Paul Tudor-Jones' article we had last week.
Yeah, so they trash Bitcoin a little bit, but we're also talking about how the big consulting firms are gearing up for blockchain, and Amazon and Alibaba also signing up for blockchain-based sort of tracking solutions.
In our general tech news, we've got a robot dog, which is doing all sorts of things, including herding sheep and potentially inciting rebellion on a New Zealand farm.
Yeah, we're talking about robots that are doing all sorts of things, including sorting groceries.
And there's even an acquisition in there of a big VR company. So we'll discuss a bit about what that means for VR and for viewing experiences for things like sport.
Some progressions in gaming technology as well. And then in transport news, we're talking about the Tesla Model 3 has actually beaten out the Honda Civic for sales in California.
Yeah, we've also got massive electric oil takers coming, which is super ironic. And we're going to touch on the recent news out of SpaceX as well.
So lots to dig into this episode. Glad to have you here.
What have you been up to the last couple of weeks, mate?
Nothing interesting until today, and very much today. I sent you a picture of the hall. I feel kind of weird talking about it on a podcast, but
you got to though. You got to. This is so cool.
So I bought my first kilogram of silver,
and it looks sick. You sent me a photo, and you just had like this silver ingot in your hand. It's got it's like engraved. And how did it feel? Like talk to me about the experience of buying real silver, like at a physical store.
All right. So this store, their website said that they were sold out of silver because silver has been pretty scarce in recent months. But I was like, do you know what? I'm going to chance it. So I left work on my lunch break and just strolled down the road to go to this bullion place. There was Peter Schiff, you know, the guy who hates Bitcoin and all that stuff.
You know, I don't hate Bitcoin because there's nothing there to hate. It's just an abstraction.
Now, a lot of people have confused it for gold. They think it's digital gold. As I've said, it's just simply fool's gold.
He was playing in the lobby on the TV screens talking about, he's this famous gold guy. I think his dad went into prison for going against the IRS in America or something.
Okay.
But he was playing on the TV. There was you could see there was a whole gallery of gold and silver bars and stuff. It was so cool, behind bulletproof glass. Give him my ID because that's the legal requirement, and fill out my phone number because they have to text me and say you need to come back in 5 minutes because of COVID. But the whole city was silent. It was pretty quiet, but this gold place was packed.
Really?
There were like 4 people in the reception of this building. Like one guy who was like 5-10 years older than me, a couple of old people, and one other guy in his like mid-50s, I reckon.
Okay.
But there were people of all ages who were here to buy or sell gold. It was wild. They have like a vault and all that sort of stuff. You go through this, like when the light goes green, you go through this door. It's like a bulletproof door. And then that door shuts behind you, and you're suddenly trapped in this little space.
It's like an airlock.
There's another, and then there's cameras above you, and there's another green light that goes off, and beep. They look at you through the glass before they open it, and then beep, they let you in, and you go in and you make your transaction. And so I purchased with my fiat currency. I bought a kilogram of silver.
Yuck. Glad you got rid of that.
Yeah, just chucked it out my bank account. Didn't need that. So after the transaction was made on the Visa and all that stuff, we walked over to the vault side, and then someone hands through in the little slot between the vault and the main room. They pass this lump of whatever through, and then they put it in this bag and they give it to me. It's heavy. It's really heavy.
Yeah, okay, so was it a kg, did you say?
1 kg exactly. And I didn't get like one of those shiny polished bars with like a whatever. It was just, I just want to just give me some silver. Give me that
piece of silver.
Give me that silver.
Yeah.
It's small, it's not huge, but you know that it's weighty. And
I feel like if you hit someone in the head with it, from what I saw there, you'd do some damage.
Mate, I'd be liable for some severe personal injury cases if that arose. So cool.
Did you get a look at the people behind the tellers? Like, were they human sized, or were they like little gnomes maybe with some pointy ears?
It was more of a golem style creature.
Right.
No.
Did they whisper "my precious" as they passed it to you?
They didn't let it go. I had to fight for it. It was awesome. They weren't really asking about my ideological reasons for buying silver. They were just happy to accept money, really. So fair play to them. Squirreled it away, and dude, it was exciting.
That's great, man. Your first kg of silver. I'm so pumped for you. Like the moment I saw it, I was like, that is so cool. You've actually done it.
I fully understand, having held it. Like, I understand how people become gold or silver bugs.
Yeah.
Because it's just a lump of metal, but at the same time, like, when you hold it, Aaron, you're like, and then you think of the physical, like the monetary value of what you're holding, you're like, this is nuts.
Imagine how old that is too, like that probably sat on the ground for a long, long time before you got to hold it.
Yeah, at least since 1990. It's pretty crazy. Anyway, that was my exciting story, and I'm super pumped for it. And
awesome.
Just a tiny little hedge in addition to crypto, but wild, wild. What have you been up to?
Went out to the farm this weekend, just gone, which was great. It was just it was actually awesome just to get out in nature, get back out into the space and see the open sky, and I feel like, I don't know how other people are feeling in this current lockdown situation, or not isolation situation, but it's you're spending a lot of time at home and you're not really getting out much, and it was really good. So did that. I've been watching a lot of esports as well.
Ooh.
Like probably more than I usually do, just because I normally have something going when I'm at home and I'm working, but just because I've been home so much and I've been working so much. I mean, right now I'm watching Valorant, which is like Riot's new FPS kind of answer. Yeah,
it's free, isn't it?
It is free. You do have to basically sign away your you have to install an anti-cheat at the kernel level. So basically their anti-cheat can basically read and do anything on your computer.
At the deepest level of the operating system, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It's actually if this game gets compromised, they could do some serious damage to a lot of
Far out.
systems just because it is that deep. So you've kind of got to trade away your soul in a way to be able to play it. And so that's the one downside to it. But look, it looks good. It run on a potato with a couple of wires plugged into it. It's not very graphically intensive, and they're gearing it, taking aim, excuse the pun, directly at CS:GO. That's what they're gunning after, that CS:GO
Isn't
competitive
Valorant
scene.
built by Valve?
No, it's built by Riot. Yeah, by Riot.
Riot.
So the guys that do League of Legends. So, and it has that real kind of cartoony, low level of detail kind of look about it too.
Yeah.
So I'm not super crash on the look. The actual gameplay, from what I can see, flows pretty well. There's some pretty interesting little things. But anyway, it's launching officially as of tonight. Yeah, that's but there's been all sorts of stuff going on. I mean, the supercars here in Australia have had an E-series they've been doing. There's a whole bunch of Counter-Strike being played, lots of StarCraft. You name it, I've probably been watching it. So it's been good.
Mate, that sounds awesome. Let's jump into our blockchain and cryptocurrency news. Let's do it.
Cool. Okay, so we covered Paul Tudor Jones last week.
Awesome
he was
story.
Last podcast. Yeah, so he, grandfather of modern hedge funds, kind of came out and said Bitcoin was his bet for the future. And we try and be as unbiased as we can on the show here, and show some opposing views. So we saw this week that Goldman Sachs had come out and basically trashed Bitcoin on an investor call.
Yeah, so they hosted this investment advisory call for their clients. They gave this scathing analysis of Bitcoin. So in a slide that was entitled "Cryptocurrencies including Bitcoin are not an asset class," the bank alliterated a number of reasons to support their view, stating that it provides no cash flow, no earnings through exposure to global growth, nor does it provide diversification nor dampen volatility, and has shown no evidence of being an effective hedge against inflation. That's what these the math bods have been saying at Goldman Sachs.
Yeah, and so one of the investors instantly spoke up and asked them where Bitcoin hurt them to point to it, and Bitcoin touched them, and and there was some awkward moments for a while. But they basically invoked the greater fool theory. The analyst said, we believe that a security whose appreciation is primarily dependent on whether someone else is willing to pay a higher price for it is not a suitable investment for our clients. Now, Joe, tell me. Investment in general, right? The reason why you invest in anything. Why do you invest in something?
Oh, because you think it's going to crash to the floor.
Oh, okay, cool. Thanks for clearing that up.
Yeah, that's all good. A basic economic 101. If you need any more help, just let me know.
Cool.
I can tell you all the altcoins I've bought in the last 3 years have done exactly that. Oh, mate. The Goldman analysts were also dismissive of the argument that was commonly made by Bitcoin bulls that while Bitcoin itself doesn't offer dividends and coupon payments, it has value based on scarcity, which these bulls say, in much the same way that gold does. In other words, if gold and silver can have value, then so can Bitcoin.
Yeah,
what did they say?
Well, they said that tulips were scarce too, and still people lost a lot of money. And they added that Bitcoin's meteoric rise and subsequent fall were much worse comparatively than in the Gouda tulip bubble of 1636 and 37, which we all remember very fondly like it was yesterday. So it wasn't purely Bitcoin that received a thumbs down from the banking giant. So the bank also gave gold a short thrift, and they challenged conventional wisdom that it's a natural hedge against inflation.
Yeah.
So, look, understandably coming from the bank that said the US economy was nearly recession-proof last year, you can see why the Bitcoin community and a lot of other investors now too are pretty dismissive of the article and Goldman Sachs in general. and look, it just, I mean, in the same way that you mentioned Peter Schiff before, like Peter Schiff, you know, he's a very much a gold bug, and he's quite dismissive of Bitcoin because that's where his business is. And, you know, he's an older kind of guy. He doesn't really spend the time to get it. Similar with Goldman Sachs, you know, they've got investments that they invest in. They've got a profile. They're very bullish on the US economy because that's where they put most of their money. And, you know, it's kind of like, you know, it's like asking the police to investigate themselves, isn't it? Like it's asking Goldman Sachs to give like a glowing report of cryptocurrency. Like they're just not going to do that.
Well, they were talking about the scarcity thing, and they were talking about tulips. You know, that tulip mania where, you know, people in the Netherlands or some far-fledged European nation back in the day were, you know, tulips were this insanely valuable thing that had this big whatever. But the thing is, you could grow tulips, but you can't grow bitcoins unless you're mining.
Yeah. And that amount is getting smaller and smaller with every halving, you know.
Now, the question they raise, is it a pledge against inflation? Honestly, I don't know. I don't know if you have thoughts on that, but I do have my criticisms of Bitcoin. I actually put a message in Telegram this morning. I went out and bought an iced coffee this morning with Bitcoin because I just like spending some Bitcoin. And TM raised in the notes, he's like, why are you spending your Bitcoin if you think it's a future? And very fair point. I shouldn't have spent that Bitcoin because it's probably worth something in the future. But, yeah, I wanted to just get rid of my coins and, you know, just spend a few and show that.
It feels good sometimes, mate.
Yeah.
Like I know exactly what you mean. Like sometimes, like I'm a massive hodler. Like I'm just stacking sats and accumulating as much as I can. But a part of me still likes spending some of it every now and then. You know, like just participating in that peer-to-peer economy. You know.
Well, yeah, as much as like I thought it was awesome because I was spending Bitcoin, I wasn't actually spending Bitcoin. I put my Bitcoin into a Lightning wallet because Bitcoin, it takes like 20 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever. It takes ages for it to get somewhere. And I want to send transactions now. Like when I make a purchase, I want to just buy. When I click buy, I want to buy. So I switched it into a Lightning wallet so that I could buy things quickly. But it took ages to get to that Lightning wallet. Like it wasn't just like this is digital money. This is the future of things. It's like Western Union, you know, it takes forever.
Yeah.
And if this is digital money and it takes me 10 minutes to send it somewhere, I'm not in for it.
Yeah, no, I agree, mate. Like there's definitely like, that's kind of been part of the issue that a lot of people have had with it. I think like it's you know it's where people's use cases are. I mean, I think for a lot of people, Bitcoin, the big killer app for it, I guess the killer use for it at the moment for a lot of people is that it's a scarce asset. You know, they're essentially building the basis for a new monetary system. And you know, like they're okay with things taking a lot of time when the basis is essentially being built to be so sound. And things like Lightning and other layer 2, layer 3 solutions will probably come. I think was it Pav that put the minting the Bitcoin that got minted on the Ethereum blockchain.
Yeah, he did,
yeah. Like I think there's going to be a lot of stuff like that happening in the near future, and so those people that want to spend their Bitcoin as like a day to day.
Yep.
In a similar way that, we've now got FPOS and MasterCard and all that kind of stuff as layers on top of the banking system, and OSCO, like the Pay ID stuff and everything else. So, yeah, like they make some valid points. I think there's still a long way to go, but we're only 10 years in, and I think to the hedge question, like hedge against inflation, the jury's definitely still out. But if you had have bought Bitcoin in, say, like the first 3 years,
you definitely beat it.
Yeah, you've hedged hard against inflation. Like you're a long way up. So, yeah.
Well, more Bitcoin drama kicked off. An early Bitcoin miner actually called Craig Wright a fraud through his own addresses.
Yeah, so Craig Wright, we've covered him a few times on the show before. He is self-proclaimed Satoshi Nakamoto. So Satoshi Nakamoto is the pseudonymous creator of Bitcoin. No one really knows who he is, if he was a group or a single person. A couple of years ago, Craig Wright, who is unfortunately an Australian alleged doctor. There's even some issues around that. Came out and said that he was Satoshi. And there's been this ongoing court battle around a whole bunch of mined coins from way back in the day that he mined allegedly with a few other people. And there's a whole bunch of addresses that he's effectively claimed that he owns as part of that case.
So he said, these addresses might belong to me. However, that was like months back. So a message signed by 145 different wallets containing Bitcoin that was mined in its very first years, that message calls Craig Wright a liar and a fraud. And the message was published on May the 25th with a list of 145 addresses and the corresponding signatures, which basically validates that that message came from all 145 accounts. So it suggested the person who wrote that message was in control of 145 of these wallets that Craig Wright claimed could have been his.
Yeah, and they've been verified as addresses that Craig Wright has tendered in court documents under oath that he's basically claiming that he owns. And Craig Wright's an interesting one. Like he's claimed on multiple occasions that he's Satoshi Nakamoto. He's never been able to provide any of the keys. He's never been able to sign a transaction from the Genesis wallet, which was owned by Satoshi Nakamoto. And so it's been really difficult to verify any of these claims.
Yeah, so he's tried to evade on every occasion that he would be forced to conclusively prove his ownership. But many in the community, ourselves included, doubt that he actually owns Satoshi Bitcoins, and therefore that he's Satoshi Nakamoto. But you never know, rabbits can be pulled out of hats.
The big issue is there's a saying in the Bitcoin community, don't trust, verify.
And he's not verified yet, so we can't trust him.
Exactly right. Mate, you stumbled across a really cool tool during the week.
Oh, this was awesome. Now, I haven't tried it and I haven't installed it on my own computer, so caveat emptor, buyer beware.
Did you go to law school?
Oh, I studied Latin in school because I went to a very fancy school in England.
Ooh.
But yeah, I was trying to trace some on-chain Bitcoin transactions, and I went through some of those tools that let you, explore where did this Bitcoin come from and trace where some money came from. And I started realizing that it got so complicated because I'd click on links and then I'd get lost and be like, where did this come from? So I looked at some of the tools that are on offer for tracking Bitcoin transactions. There's Chainalysis, which is a software company which makes tools for governments and businesses to track crypto transactions and then therefore tie transactions to identities. Why? Because I just wanted to track a certain address and see where money went. What did I learn? I learned that unless you've been taking hectic amounts of cocaine or something, you can't understand where did this money come from on a Bitcoin transaction without spending money on a tool like Chainalysis, which visualizes the history. I found this really cool tool called Blockchain 3D. Blockchain3D.info is the website. It looks like a really cool option. You have to install it. Now, I didn't because I didn't want to install anything on this computer. But basically, it lets you put on VR headsets and actually explore any blockchain in 3D. So click on the link. It looks super awesome. Every transaction has a 3D thing associated with it. It's just nuts.
Yeah, it's got all these hubs and spokes, and you click on one thing and other transactions pop out of it, and you're flying through the sky.
It looks awesome. So I need to set up a virtual machine and just install it somewhere that's not going to come back and potentially ruin my regular computer. Look, if anyone listening has come across a really cool way of tracking Bitcoin transactions visually, not just clicking numbers, but actually visually seeing a spider diagram or a mind map of transactions, who it came from, where it's going to, I'd love to see it because that stuff is awesome. And that's actually what Chainalysis do. That's what the governments have access to. And it's something that I want access to. So Give me your free copies.
Next bit of news, the Big Four are gearing up to become crypto and blockchain auditors.
Yeah, so Henri Arslanian, PricewaterhouseCoopers, PwC's global crypto leader, as they say, he told Cointelegraph that the Big Four firms specifically have a very important role to play in the advancement of the cryptocurrency ecosystem. What did he say about that?
So he said, although Bitcoin was designed with a trustless ideology, the reality is that the industry still requires trusted entities to catalyze the development of the ecosystem.
Yeah, so this guy noted that when he first joined PwC 3 years ago, not many people took crypto seriously, but he saw like fast growth, obviously because that was 2017. And that drove the company's Hong Kong firm to start accepting Bitcoin payments from clients 2 years ago.
So since then, PwC has formed crypto teams in 20 countries consisting of 200 people in total that work on crypto-related projects. And he said, just within the cryptocurrency sector, we've conducted over 350 engagements in the last 18 months. Now, the crypto teams aren't only focused on tax and accounting challenges, but audit and assurance services are also in demand.
Yeah, he said, I believe the Big Four crypto firms will serve as the bridge between the crypto ecosystem and the institutional world. It's good for both the crypto ecosystem and for the professional services firms like ours as a new source of clients that we can help. What's your take on this?
Oh, I don't know if I've really got a take. I mean, I'm just thinking if I was like working for PwC or any of the other big guys and like, you know, you offered me a job in the crypto department, like particularly if I was doing like tax and, you know, accounting and things like that, I'd take it in a heartbeat. That sounds so much more interesting than a, you know, like insolvency practice or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like a lot of this stuff is just a bit of faff, and I don't know whether we're going to see it in 5 to 10 years' time. But yeah, like if they feel like they're providing a lot of value in that space, great, I guess. I don't know. Do you have a take? Like, is there anything that...
Yeah, I do have a take. I feel like saying I understand blockchain is like saying I understand Microsoft Excel. Like, it's a database. Like, you understand it goes from somewhere and to somewhere. There's an exchange, like there's a transaction fee on the way. And so it's literally, it's perfectly measurable. That's the thing about public blockchains, at least, like Bitcoin. It's just, it just goes from A to B. And so it's very easy to track. So it doesn't take much of a genius to make, a few formulas that can convert complicated looking stuff into just very simple, this went to here, blah. So yeah, I feel like it's a bit of a fad, really, but it's good to know that the big companies, the huge companies, are looking at it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you gotta ask, how much of this is them actually, there being like a real demand for it, and how much of it is just like a prestige thing that they kind of whack in as an extra part to, say we're doing crypto. I don't know. Yeah. Hard to know.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Hard to know.
Well, let's jump onto something that's really not so hard to know.
Yeah, so Alibaba has signed a blockchain-related deal with the Chinese port operator.
Yeah, China's biggest port operator, China Merchants Port, great company name there. They reached a deal on May 28th with the e-commerce giant Alibaba Group and its affiliate Ant Financial. The deal will allow for the development of a blockchain-based platform which will target a number of different use cases.
Yeah, so according to local media, the platform will allow buyers, sellers, logistic companies, banks, customs and tax officials to conduct contactless digital export and import transactions. Now, the companies will provide an in-depth integration of blockchain technology in the port industry, they say, and their goal is to become the world's first blockchain-based digital port with an open collaboration network. Joe, I remember a couple of years ago we were covering a lot of port-related stuff. Is the point of difference on this one that they're like a bit more open? Is that what they're thinking, or like because this sounds like what Maersk and IBM and all those different. I think Samsung was tied up in it as well. They were all working on some port stuff too.
Look, it sounds like exactly the same product, except it's hosted in Alibaba. So I guess Alibaba's blockchain cloud or something like that instead of IBM's blockchain cloud. And look, it's got our favorite group of individuals: buyers, sellers, logistics companies, banks, customs, and tax officials. So that is a sandwich of the most delicious ingredients. It doesn't get much better than that.
Oh no, mate, that is the dream team. You know, if you're going to a party, they're all the people that you want at that party.
Yeah. Interestingly, though, Amazon, competitor to Alibaba in the cloud land at least, not much of a competitor because Amazon's dope. They've patented this blockchain system for supply chain tracking, which is fascinating because Amazon's this trillion-dollar company.
Yeah, and so they've filed a patent for a blockchain system that tracks goods as they move on the supply chain. And the patent dated May 26 describes a distributed ledger certification system.
Ooh.
So the document explains that the tracking solution would ensure that consumer goods that are sold on its e-commerce site are authentic. So they say that features are disclosed for an interface for verifiable tracking of an item through a supply chain using a distributed electronic ledger.
That's really fascinating. When it just says it's verifiable tracking of an item through a supply chain, like that is, it's exactly what Alibaba are doing in the previous piece we were talking about. But it's spot on. That's exactly what these guys are doing. It's smart contract. It's just database, Excel spreadsheet, new row. It's gone from here to here to here to here. You can now, like in the future, it won't be surprising. You scan the barcode and all of a sudden there'll be a VR hologram in front of you that shows you the poor Chinese bloke who made the iPhone that you're holding in your hands.
That's
I don't
right.
know. Yeah, it's something like that. And you bought it on Amazon, so great.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that all these big cloud suppliers are kind of doing this. I mean, I remember, it would have been over 2 years ago when we were covering Microsoft's Azure stuff, and they were, already had all this kind of in place. They were tracking the movement of milk through like intelligent sensors, and as it moved from like the farm to the factory all the way to the store, and it was updating the ledger, and like things would go out of compliance and it'd update the smart contract. And so like it seems like they're all doing it. It seems like, there's more and more patents being filed. So I guess, we're still yet to see this come into any industry in a massive way, though, aren't we? It still just seems to be like...
You say that, but behind the scenes, like I remember, so what you're talking about there was Microsoft Azure's blockchain. We talked about that back in episode 21. That's like 2 years ago. But we also covered Walmart moving all of their greens to, was it Walmart?
That was, the food trust. Yeah, you're right. That was Walmart, Nestle, I think IBM were developing.
That was actually just after, I think that was episode 28 when we first mentioned that. Yeah. So they bought a bunch of headsets, and then episode 29, literally in the space of 2 weeks, they went from buying 17,000 headsets to suddenly telling every salad supplier, every green supplier to give them stuff via a blockchain by September 2019. And it's now, when are we? We're like June, don't know the time, 2020. Like, it's been about a year, and Walmart, and that's the biggest supermarket in the world, essentially.
Yeah, and that's something we haven't checked back in on, is it? Like, we should probably check back in on Walmart's food trust sometimes and see how it's actually going.
That's a very good call.
Minecraft meets the blockchain thanks to a new plugin.
Yeah, so according to an announcement made by Enjin, who, by the way, we featured back in episode 10, about 58 minutes and 22 seconds through, the blockchain plugin from Enjin for Minecraft will allow players to integrate, trade, and use blockchain gaming items through Minecraft servers.
Yeah, so by integrating with Enjin, the company aims to make it easy to tokenize Minecraft items and thus incorporate them within the player's servers. Now, the plugin is based in Java, It's got some specialized functionalities like integration of the tool on external games, servers, and websites. But Enjin's kind of been set up for this for the very beginning. I mean, I remember playing with like an early version of Enjin way back in the day, and it's basically set up to act as like a, you know, item marketplace and having different items from different games kind of integrate. And so yeah, it's cool that they're managing to bring this into Minecraft.
Pretty nuts. Yeah. Lovely.
All right, tech news time.
Mate, there is a lot of tech news to talk about.
Yeah, and this first one is just wild. We've got a video in the show notes, and you should definitely go watch it. It'll have robot dog or something on the title, and basically it's a video featuring this robot dog which does all sorts of things on the farm, including herding sheep on a New Zealand farm.
Yeah, this New Zealand-based robotics company, Rokos, just shared a video of how Boston Dynamics dog-like robot Spot could give agriculture workers a hand by herding sheep, inspecting crop yields, and relieving labour shortages.
So the company typing Spot could provide real-time feedback as it navigates and scans rugged environments, and by creating the maps, farmers could inspect yield estimates of their crops without having to go out. And in fact, the task of operating the robot could be fulfilled by practically anybody, even if it means outsourcing to another country.
Yeah, now, you watch this video clip and it shows the robot moving towards a herd of sheep, and the sheep start moving, but the clip is very short, which suggests to me that the sheep rose up, they attacked the robot, sent Spot packing, and in my opinion, dogs will probably be okay for another 10 years at least. But, yeah.
Yeah, that's the most reasonable and logical conclusion, I think, mate. Like, because they did cut it off very suddenly, and we've all heard the song "Cows with Guns," and it's not much of a logical leap to have sheep with guns either. So, I for one welcome our new woolly overlords.
Next up, Microsoft launches Project Bonsai, which is an AI development platform for industrial control systems.
Yeah, so this Project Bonsai is a machine teaching service that combines machine learning, calibration, and optimization to bring autonomy to the control systems at the heart of robotic arms, bulldozer blades, forklifts, underground drills, rescue vehicles, wind, solar farms, and a lot more.
Yeah, so Project Bonsai attempts to marry this expertise with a powerful simulation toolkit hosted on Microsoft Azure.
And at a high level, their aim is to hasten the arrival of Industry 4.0, which is an industrial transformation that Microsoft defines as the infusion of intelligence, connectivity, and automation into the physical world.
Separate to this, which is worth watching, Ocado's grocery sorting / packing robot warehouse. It's on YouTube. Check it out in the show notes. It's well worth watching if you like robots. Ocado is a UK-based online-only supermarket, and they've been solving the problems of picking, handling, quick delivery, optimization. They optimize the driving routes that the person driving the van is going to go on in real time, and it's crazy. Like, it's a whole warehouse where the food is dropped in at one end, and these robots sort it and put it into shopping baskets, and it then goes to the consumers. And it's just crazy wild. So definitely worth checking out if you're interested in robots.
Yeah. And in that vein too, there's another link we've got up there which has a video which has a high-speed robot arm handing off packages to a delivery drone in a demo.
Yeah, so why land a drone to pick up a package when it could snatch it from a robot arm without stopping?
So the Ishikawa Group Laboratory at the University of Tokyo has already made it happen. So from the paper they wrote, it's a non-stop handover of a parcel to an airborne UAV. Now, a supply station automatically loads a parcel onto the UAV. An adjustment for the handover is achieved by controlling the supply station, which tracks the UAV using a high-speed vision system. So you effectively have this UAV kind of fly in, and this arm basically tracks where it is and puts the package on a hook perfectly for the UAV just to pick up and keep going. You don't need to stop. You don't need to land. You don't need to worry about momentum. And, like theoretically, you could have these UAVs flying around delivering packages without ever really slowing down.
Yeah, and that would be much better than your existing postman. So, sounds pretty cool.
Good luck for the dogs chasing it.
Oh, it's so true.
Some people are going to lose some dogs, I think.
Yeah, brutal.
Microsoft have just built a world-class supercomputer exclusively for OpenAI.
Yeah, so last year, Microsoft announced this $1 billion investment in OpenAI, which is, they're an organization whose mission is to create an artificial general intelligence and make it safe for humanity. What is artificial general intelligence?
Yeah, so artificial general intelligence is the hypothetical intelligence of a machine that has the capacity to understand or learn any intellectual tasks that a human being can. It's the primary goal of some artificial intelligence research and a common topic in science fiction and future studies. And I think a lot of the a lot of the singularity talk is tied up in basically this is kind of like the precursor to what sci-fi novels call the singularity.
So, well, yeah, as we said last year, Microsoft announced $1 billion investment in this organization. A year on, we have the first results of that partnership at this year's Microsoft Build 2020, which is a developer conference showcasing Microsoft's latest and greatest. The company said that they'd completed a supercomputer exclusively for OpenAI's machine learning research.
Now, this is like no run-of-the-mill supercomputer, like the type that you just buy off the shelf and, whack into a
as one does
20,000 square foot warehouse. It's a beast of a machine. So the company said it has 285,000 CPU cores, 10,000 GPUs, and 400 gigabits per second of network connectivity for each GPU server.
For context, I'm on about 25 megabits of internet connectivity. So, yeah. Or is that megabytes? I don't know.
Allegedly megabits. Up to typical evening speeds.
This is ridiculous. But stacked against the fastest supercomputer on the planet, Microsoft said that this computer would rank 5th.
Yeah, so it's right up now. The size of most advanced AI models, that is like the neural networks in machine learning algorithms, has been growing fast. So at the same time, according to OpenAI, the computing power needed to train these models has been doubling every 3.4 months.
Yeah, so the bigger the model that you're trying to train against, the bigger the computer you need to train it. And to be clear, this isn't artificial general intelligence yet. And there's no certain path to artificial general intelligence yet. But algorithms are beginning to modestly generalize within domains, and that's progress.
Yeah, so the general idea is that once one of these very large AI models has been trained, it can actually be customized and employed by other researchers or companies with far fewer resources. So effectively, like we get to that point and then the goalposts shift again and we can use this trained artificial intelligence to effectively do a whole bunch of things a lot quicker than what it took to train it in the first
It's the whole like standing on the shoulders of giants sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally unrelated to Microsoft's investment in a supercomputer for AI, Microsoft is also laying off journalists and replacing them with artificial intelligence.
Yeah, so they're laying off dozens of journalists and editorial workers at its Microsoft News and MSN organizations. Now, it's unclear whether this is because of the artificial intelligence or just because no one reads MSN and Microsoft News at all. But the layoffs are apparently part of a bigger push by Microsoft to rely on artificial intelligence to pick news and content that's presented on MSN.com.
A Microsoft spokesperson said, "Look, like all companies, we evaluate our business on a regular basis. This can result in an increased investment in some places and, from time to time, redeployment in others. These decisions are not the result of the current pandemic." So we know these journalists have not lost their job due to COVID-19. Thank goodness.
Yeah, it makes me feel a lot better.
Warm and fuzzy. This next piece of VR news is nuts.
Yeah, so NextVR, which is located in Orange County, California, has a decade of experience with VR stuff in sports, entertainment, And they do all sorts of VR experiences for live events with headsets from PlayStation, Oculus, HTC, Microsoft, Lenovo, you name it. They're in VR all over the place.
And they've been acquired by Apple.
Yeah, so they've got technology that upscales video streams, and they use the technology to support high-quality video streams of music, sporting events, to VR headsets, and they've got about 40 patents total. So this, like, combined with their partnerships, I mean, they've got NBA, Fox Sports, Wimbledon. They're all over the place. Like, Apple is making a massive, massive move here. And they're kind of betting on VR as being a big portion of their portfolio going forward.
Yeah. Now, that's no amount of small change, like a few $100 million that Apple probably spent on them. But look, NBA, like basketball, Fox Sports. I don't know what's on Fox Sports, but I assume it's not Fox's. Wimbledon is like tennis and stuff. Like live sports in VR. Now, I'm not a sports fan, but I assume that if I was a sports fan, seeing it as if I was there in person, right by the net or the other sports thing to stand next to, that would be freaking cool, right?
100%, mate. Like one of the best like moments in my recent memory was when I went over to funnily enough, Orange County, California as well, where the Ducks play. They're the hockey team that I follow.
Yeah.
Ice hockey, and I got to go to 2 of their games, and I'd like been wanting to go for years and years and years. Finally got there, and mate, like got seats down by the rink, and it was unreal, mate. Like it was just amazing being that close to the players. You just don't get that experience on TV, but VR definitely, if they set their cameras up right and you know, they could effectively put you basically right there, right at the ring.
Right in the action, yeah.
You know, yeah, if the sound works as well, mate, it's going to be amazing.
So that's pretty, as you just said, unreal. Let's move on with that same word. Unreal Engine 5.
Well
what a
done.
segue.
Episode 65, mate. We made it. Look at that.
Unreal
That's
Engine
smooth as
5. Dude, talk to us about it.
So Unreal Engine 4 runs a bunch of games at the moment. So a lot of the games that people play right now, if you peel away the packaging, open up the hood, you'll see Unreal Engine 4 running underneath it. It's a very, very robust, well-used engine that's quite respected. So haven't been resting on their laurels. They've been building Unreal 5, and you need to basically click on this link that we've got in the show notes.
Do it, please.
Go watch it because it looks too real. And it's gameplay stuff. So it's a demo that they've got. They're running it on Unreal 5, and mate, it looks amazing.
Yeah, so they're running Unreal Engine 5 on a PlayStation 5, and these graphics look almost real. It's scary.
Yeah, no, it is, and they're really getting into this area where, you know, we're almost getting away from Uncanny Valley. You know, last 10, 15 years, graphics have been getting good, but there's still always been that element of it doesn't look quite real. And I think the closest we've probably come is some of the stuff coming out of Star Citizen. If you go into that game, there's just some amazing, amazing graphics in that game that they've worked really, really hard on. But this is next level. You've got 8K textures, you've got virtualized micro-polygon geometry, which apparently frees artists to create as much geometric detail as the eye can see. And that means that tens of millions of triangles can be rendered in real time.
One example in the video that they show you, this is running on a PlayStation 5, by the way, and it shows over 16 billion triangles being rendered in a single room that you're standing in with real-time light moving around. And this is on a PS5. It's astounding. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, imagine what this is going to do when you put it on a PC, like a modern PC. You know, it's just...
Video games from the 2020s could look like scenes that are ripped straight out of real life. Things look good now if you play Battlefield or Star Citizen, but this is next level. It's gonna be nuts.
I can't wait.
Crazy.
Cannot wait. So, mate, we have not heard from Jordan, our intrepid South African reporter, in a while.
We should give him a call.
Yeah, he's popped back up on our radar. I think it's time we give him a call, see what he's up to, see where he's at. You know, just check in.
Yeah, let's give him a ring.
Jordan, have I got you?
Oh, Brew, yes, hello. Hello, yes, are you there?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, I'm here. Look, haven't heard from you in a while. Good to finally tee up with you. I think you left us a message.
Oh, likewise, mate, likewise, huh?
Yeah. So where are you this week, mate? Are you still? I think you were in Africa last time we talked to you. Have you moved anywhere else?
No, Brew, I'm back in the United States. I heard there was an Ebola outbreak in Africa, so I had to head straight for freedom. I went to the United States. I'm here now. I'm actually on the ground. You know, there's riots taking place. I'm actually in Minnesota. I'm taking part in the rallies, lending support where I can.
Okay, so what are you actually doing there, Jordan? Because I know there is a lot of protests and riots. Obviously, things are a bit crazy in the US at the moment. You picked a pretty strange time to come. Are you doing anything in particular while you're there?
Oh, Brew, what else would I be doing? I'm reporting. This is one of the greatest events of our lifetimes. You know, look, the people are rising up. The populace, they're rising up. It reminds me of a long time ago, actually, in South Africa. I was a wee long yad. I was a little boy. You know, no, put it on the floor, huh? No, put it over there. Oh, get that off.
Sounds like something else is going on there in the background, Jordan. What are you up to?
Well, look, I found myself in a somewhat of a unique situation. I fell in with. I'm in a protest that's protesting against the Federal Reserve. Everybody, there's thousands of people here. We're smashing windows. We're taking shoes out of stores. We're running away down the streets with Nike shoes, brand new ones. You know, we're rioting against the Federal Reserve. That's what we're here for, you know?
Oh, Jordan, correct me if I don't actually think that those riots are about the Federal Reserve.
No, Brew, look, everybody is frustrated, they're angry, the aggressor is the Federal Reserve. Everybody here, without a doubt, they're rioting against the Federal Reserve.
Okay, so Jordan, so you sound like you're placing some things down somewhere.
I'm in the middle of a department store right now. We're taking the Federal Reserve down right here in the middle of a Macy's supermarket in America. Huh? We're getting rid of the items so that we can trash the Federal Reserve.
But Jordan, Macy's isn't the Federal Reserve. They're not owned by the Federal Reserve. If you want to trash the Federal Reserve, you need to go to the Federal Reserve building.
Oh, Brew, dude, we've got to get out of here. We're going to go. Oh, dude, I'll chat to you soon, huh?
Okay, so,
I think he's kind of missing the point of these protests a little bit.
Doesn't sound like Jordan at all, does it? Missing the point and, you know, getting into places he probably shouldn't be. We may have to call someone, mate. Just, I think if we can explain things to them, we might be able to get him out of a theft or robbery charge.
Look, if you know a lawyer in the United States, please give us a message.
All right, on to our privacy news. This week, we've discovered something a bit left of field, and it is an article by Wired, and it looked into NSA's secret tool for mapping your social network. Yeah,
now Zero Hedge gave this story the headline, NSA's social network mapping is more vast, omnipresent, and horrifying than Snowden revealed. A little more down to earth, Wired, who wrote this piece, it's really worth reading this piece for the full write-up. It's a great read. Now, as this author parsed the documents and interviewed sources in 2013, the implications of it finally sank in. The NSA had built a live, ever-updating social graph of the United States.
And they say our phone records were not in cold storage. They didn't sit untouched. They're arranged in a one-hop contact chain of each to all. So all kinds of secrets, social, medical, political, professional, were pre-computed 24/7.
Yeah, so looking at what was available in the documents and research and sourcing, this journalist saw that what the NSA was doing was creating a database that was pre-configured to map anybody's life at the touch of a button. So if you became an enemy of the state, they just need to put your name in, click enter, and it instantly shows you everything about your life, every parking ticket, every hospital appointments, every document that you've ever had digitally tied to your name and identity is there.
Wow.
And it's kind of crazy. So it's a bit of a privacy and security sort of thing. Well, didn't you come across an interesting privacy tool this week?
Yeah. So this one won't help you hide from the NSA social network mapping tool. Some of that stuff we have covered in our FOMO.show/privacy link. There's some better tools there, but this one's called Matomo. Now, Matomo, we've got the link in the show notes. It's a genuine alternative to Google Analytics. Now, Joe, just for those people who don't really know what Google Analytics is, what does Google Analytics do?
So if you run a website, Google Analytics, you put a little tiny script on your website, it loads on every web page, and it basically tells you who's visiting your website, how long are they on each page for, what are they doing there, are they clicking stuff, where do they come from, where are they going to, how are people behaving on your website is what Google Analytics is.
Yeah, cool. So, and the thing about Google Analytics, of course, is that it syncs in with a whole bunch of other Google products. It's tied to your account. Like, basically, by installing it on your webpage, you're kind of giving Google like a front seat view of everything that goes on your website. Now, for people that are like using the Google Stack and using Google Ads and all sorts of stuff, it really is like the best thing for the job, and it's kind of just one of those things that you just need. But there probably is a lot of people out there and a lot of websites out there that aren't running ads. They don't really need to be hooked into Google Stack, and this is where something like Matomo comes really into its own. So it provides all the usual things that the Google Analytics does. So full service web analytics, heat maps, A/B testing, funnels and goals, visitors, behavior acquisition. But the big kicker for Matomo is that it's open source and you can host it yourself. So if you want to have like an analytic tool on your website to kind of see who's looking at your website, do some A/B testing, get an idea of who's visiting what part of your website and how long they're staying there, etc., well, you can spin up Matomo, and it basically just runs on your server, and you don't have to give that data to anyone. You can just kind of keep it within your website and, basically administer it yourself.
That sounds really awesome.
So yeah, if you're running a website and you need an analytics tool but don't need the Google Stack, this could be a really viable option for you.
Sounds awesome.
All right, on to our transport news. So in this segment, we normally talk about stuff that's going on in space, we talk about stuff that's going on in flight, electric cars, and there's plenty of news this week in all those fronts.
Yes, first up, the Tesla Model 3 is beating Honda Civic as the top-selling car in California.
The Tesla Model 3 has outsold the much cheaper Honda Civic to become California's top-selling passenger car during the first quarter of 2020.
The California-based automaker has been consistently doing all right in its home market, which also happens to be one of the biggest markets in the world for Tesla. They sold 18,856 versus Honda Civic's 18,001.
Now, just for perspective, so Tesla Model 3 fits into the near luxury category, right? So the next best, so Tesla's at around about 19,000. The next best car in that series is the BMW 3 Series, and they're only selling 3,500. So it's a market share in that category of Tesla's well over 50%. The next best is 9.6%.
Tells you what people want, hey?
Yeah. And I bet all these luxury car makers are kicking themselves now. They didn't, heed Musk's words and warnings and actually just get their electric factories cranking earlier on.
It's crazy. Now, Tesla is still gaining overall market share. They're only representing 4.6% of the entire new car market in California. But look, they've only got 3 models basically on the market.
Yeah. And it's a testament to them keeping it simple, keeping the quality up high. And look, it just seems like they're picking up speed.
Crazy. Interestingly, speaking of competition, Mazda has started the production of the MX-30, their first pure EV. Tell us a little bit about this.
So Mazda has recently begun production of the all-new, all-electric Mazda MX-3 at its Enjin plant number 1 in Hiroshima, Japan. Now, the company is keeping its first pure EV moving forward to answer the demand for electric vehicles in Europe, where stricter CO2 reductions are in place.
Now, Electric, who posted this piece, they had an interesting take. They said, look, having another choice of electric vehicles is a good thing. However, a new 2021 electric vehicle with 125 miles of range and 50 kilowatts quick charging limit it's behind the times by the time it's released.
Yeah.
Even if you like Mazda styling and build quality, the MX-30 at $35,000 to $40,000, it's going to be a tough sell.
Yeah. And look, considering that like the majority of people buying Mazdas that look like this are, like mums of like 3 kids, 4 kids who generally have like places to be. They've got lots of different trips. Like generally it's a family car, this kind of stuff. Like 125 miles of range on one of those.
Yeah.
Don't know how they're going to go.
Absolutely. And look, I read the other week that Tesla had actually cut their car prices by up to $5,000 each.
Wow.
Crazy.
Great.
Anyway,
if only they like could come down in price a bit more here in Australia.
Oh, please.
You got to laugh at this one. So, massive electric oil tankers are coming. Now, can you hear who sung that ironic song, Matt? Is it Alanis Morissette? Is that? I mean, this is just so ironic.
A group of large Japanese companies have come together to launch a consortium that will build the infrastructure to develop and launch large electric vessels like oil tankers.
Yeah, so oil tankers and cargo ships are some of the biggest and most polluting vehicles on the planet. Now, some of the world's largest cargo ships emit pollution comparable to millions of passenger cars put together. The heavy fuel oil that they burn has high sulfur content, and therefore it's an important part of the world's transportation industry that needs to transition to being battery powered.
So 7 important Japanese companies have launched the E5 consortium, they're calling it, which it has a goal to establish, quote unquote, new ocean shipping infrastructure services through various initiatives to develop, realize, and commercialize zero emission electric vessels.
Now, so the first part of the project will be to launch the world's first zero-emission electric tanker powered by large-capacity lithium-ion batteries in March 2022. So what we'll have, if this all goes ahead, is we will have the world's first zero-emission electric tanker carrying a whole bunch of crude oil.
Oh, it's just a joke. Now, like they've teased some of the specs, but look, we're not going to share them. They're available at the link. We're going to hold off sharing until they've actually made something as opposed to sent a concept out into the world. But isn't that just great?
And it's just a sign of where things are going, isn't it? Like, because you kind of look at this and you go, if you're going to put all this money into building these tankers, like I get that's a great business right now. But if you're like talking right now about building electric tankers, which up to now would run on the stuff that you're shipping, wouldn't it maybe better to take all those millions and millions of dollars that you're spending on that and invest that into, I don't know, maybe building like other things that take electric power as well?
You need to be.
But in saying that, look, these it won't just be oil tankers. Like if they do this right, there's going to be a lot of cargo hauling ships that they'll be able to do and all sorts of other things. But it's just a bit bizarre that like the example they've chosen is an oil tanker.
Well, that just looks like where the future of transport is. Well, speaking of the future of transport, groundbreaking all-electric plane is paving the way to greener aviation.
Yeah, so we've covered electric planes in bits and pieces over the last couple of years. And this is a news out of TechSport. So they've said that the world's largest all-electric plane has successfully completed a test flight. The first step in a long process, its developers say, will lead to an era of low-cost, pollution-free air travel. Yeah,
so the Seattle-based electric motor manufacturer Magnix teamed with local airline Harbour Air to retrofit a Cessna Grand Caravan 208 with a 750 horsepower zero-emissions motor, and they conducted their first test over Moses Lake, Washington, on Thursday. I don't know which Thursday. But yeah, the 37-foot Caravan is one of the most popular medium-range commuter airliners in the world, and it can carry up to 9 passengers.
So observers of the 30-minute test flight say they could barely hear any noise from the plane, and in fact, the much smaller fuel engine-powered Cessna chase plane accompanying the test plane made far more noise, they said.
It's 100% right. I clicked on the link and I wanted to watch it and listen to this like electric plane whisping past, and all I could hear was the chase plane just being like... It was just filth, man. Like, you couldn't hear it. So
How dare it?
the CEO, Roy Genzarski, he said that, look, with no complex fuel engines, electric generated planes will require less maintenance, and they could be up to 80% less expensive per hour to operate than fuel engine planes. This means lower ticket prices and greater incentives for airlines to establish routes to smaller airports and less popular regions currently underserved by the airline giants.
So there's a video at the link available if you want to go watch it take off and you want to listen to the chase plane make a whole bunch of noise. But, mate, look, everything's going electric. I love it. This is great. We're getting there. We're basically watching, like, this is like the new version of the Wright brothers right now. You know, like they're effectively like working out how to stick a plane in the air with batteries instead of with fuel. So, yeah, super cool. Speaking of super cool, I mean, it's we won't spend too long on this because everyone probably knows this already, but SpaceX, they sent a rocket ship. It's basically the first commercial flight to successfully dock with the International Space Station.
Yeah, and it's had astronauts on it as well. So after being delayed by bad weather, the Falcon 9 rocket, it lifted off from Florida, and it was the first launch of astronauts into orbit by a private firm.
Yeah, so NASA was involved in this as well, and it's their first human space flight from US soil in nearly a decade. And the first stage landed successfully on the drone ship and then docked successfully with the International Space Station.
So, successful mission. Crazy. Elon Musk isn't messing about. We're going to space, boys and girls. We're going to space, people.
Soon the moon, then soon Mars. Come on.
That's it.
Can't wait.
And speaking of the moon, on the moon, astronaut pee will be a hot commodity.
Yeah, this is a really intriguing piece that came out of Wired, and it's a piece basically about the role that pee will play. So it says that if astronauts are going to spend weeks at a time on the moon, they're going to have to figure out how to live off the land, or regolith, as it is on the moon. So it's too expensive to ship everything from Earth, which means they'll have to get creative with the limited resources on the lunar surface. Moon dirt is a great building material, and there's water in the form of ice at the South Pole that can be turned into rocket fuel. But the hottest commodity of everything may well turn out to be an astronaut's own pee.
Earlier this year, a team of European researchers demonstrated that urea, the second most common compound in human urine after water, can be mixed with moon dirt and used for construction. The resulting material is a geopolymer, which has similar properties to concrete and could potentially be used to build landing pads, habitats, and other structures on the moon.
So when this is mixed with water and certain reactive compounds, it creates a putty-like material that can be cast into direct shapes before it's left to dry. And on the moon, most infrastructure is likely going to be built by industrial 3D printers.
Yeah, like building with bricks could be way too inefficient, and it would limit the type of structures that you could actually build on the moon. But robotic 3D printers could autonomously build more complex habitats. Lunar regolith, which is this lunar stuff on the moon, it has chemical similarities to fly ash, which makes geopolymers an attractive option for building stuff on the moon. The downside is that they require a lot of water, so that they'll flow through the nozzle of a 3D printer.
Yeah, and water is very, very valuable on the lunar surface, according to Marlies Arnhoff, a member of the Advanced Concepts team at the European Space Agency and a co-author of the research. So he says that one of our main goals with the study was to reduce the amount of water necessary to produce a geopolymer.
In the barren lunar environment, every drop of liquid matters. So whether it's used as a building material, a fertilizer, or life support, it looks like pee is going to have a big role to play as humans venture out into the solar system. Space travel has never seemed so glamorous.
That's a great piece.
It's
really
just,
good.
It's just hard. It's just uplifting. You know, you're seeing people protesting and the economy falling flat, but you know that if you just went outside and took a pee, you could be making the world a better place.
Exactly. And it's great for like all of the, toilet humor enthusiasts amongst us. Like, it's just awesome. I'm super stoked.
Oh, mate, what a lovely time to be alive.
Yeah. There's so much cool stuff going on. I'm really liking this new focus on cool things. You know? It's great.
Yeah.
Wherever you're joining us from, it's a pleasure having you here.
Why not drop into our Telegram channel and say hello?
You can find that on FOMO.show/Telegram.
Know someone who might enjoy this? Why not share it with them?
You can find us at FOMO.show.
You can jump on our Telegram at FOMO.show/Telegram.
And on our YouTube at FOMO.show/YouTube.
That's it for us here at the FOMO Show. Thank you so much for joining us.
If you like our show, why not leave us a rating in your podcast player and subscribe in your podcast app of choice or via our YouTube channel. I'm Matt.
And I'm Joe.
And as always, remember,
no FOMO.
Cool.
Got it.
Cool.
Got it.
I might pour myself a little bit of whiskey, actually, before
Cool.
we... Silver.
Give me that silver.
Yeah.
It's small. It's not huge, but you know that it's weighty. And
Yeah, I feel like if you hit someone in the head with it, from what I saw there, you'd do some damage.
Mate, I'd be liable for some severe personal injury cases if that arose.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so
Of course,
cool.
if you pressed it down on someone's neck and happened to choke them out, you'd be completely fine. So we went to a dark place very soon in the show there. We'll probably need to cut that out.
Backtrack. Sorry, mate. I was ordering dinner.
What did you get? You just had a burger.
Oh, I did, but that was just a small burger to just prep me for my dinner.
Just like a slider or something.
Yeah. So I'm getting a burger, a cheeseburger, some chips, some other stuff. Yeah, just
From McDonald's?
Hungry Jacks.
Ooh.
22.
What are you using? Is that Menulog?
I'm using Uber Eats because they're now on Uber Eats.
Okay, right, okay.
Very nice.
That's awesome.
Anyway, yeah, and if you're new to cryptocurrency and blockchain tech, you can check out our Blockchain Basics series, which covers the fundamentals. It starts from episode 2 and continues until episode 8. Help you if you're listening to that because it's awful.
It's very fresh. We were very fresh.